This is part 3 of my chat on the comfy seats with James Blair. Full intro to him can be found at the start of part 1, so go ahead and have a listen to that if you want to. If you've been feeling isolated and missing the social side of being at the office, you're definitely not on your own. Check this out. Because that's the one side of things. The other thing is, again, this formality barrier. It's an issue in social terms. You know, people who want to just check in and where you might have had a chat at the water cooler. Everybody always says that, and yet I don't know how many chats ever go on at a water cooler, but we'll go with it. But in a corridor or just leaning over somebody's booth or whatever it is, all of those chats that you might have had, we're not getting to have anymore. How do you bring those in again without that formality becoming a barrier or an obstacle to that?
This is a really deep pool to get into, isn't it? Obviously, whilst it presents its own barriers, tech like WhatsApp, instant messaging services are helpful to a certain extent in this, because you have that ability to very casually contact someone with a quick instant message. However, the healthiness of that is entirely related to the healthiness of your online communications. Because again, we talk about that performative aspect, the way people present themselves, the way people feel they have to behave in certain situations, that can apply even more so online. So if you've got the right boundaries in place, if you have an emotional honesty in your communications, those sorts of things can help lessen that burden. In terms of the face-to-face stuff, something I did way back when at the start of lockdown, because when people were first talking about it, the anxiety started to rise a little, the heart starts going, the breathing gets a bit shallow. And what I thought I would do is I would lean on routine. I would create a set of routines in terms of behavioral change that wouldn't be too much of a shift, that represented my old life in the before times.
Back in the day.
But those include things like time with my partner. So she and I look at the end of a working day to physically leave the home environment and go for a walk outside. And while we're doing that, we natter to each other a bit. And then having device-free time in the evening where it's just the two of us talking about the day or what's going on or whatnot. And I very quickly discovered that those conversations became a great deal more detailed. They become emotionally deeper and a lot sillier, as what I was trying to do was get all of the different interactions I would have in a day and squeeze them into those spaces. So it'd be a really weird mix of British dramedy, laugh, 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 cry about this, discuss this, and great laugh again. But yes, setting up those opportunities where you're going to have distraction-free time with someone in a COVIDly safe, socially distanced manner. I found that very important to me, at least.
I think you're fortunate enough, I guess, to have a partner who is there, who you can go through that plethora of different emotions with. In some cases, it's easier than others, I guess. It's, for some people, they kind of think, well, I have a really good relationship with my partner, but I need my mates. I need they get it, they get me, or whatever it is. And just it's funny because interestingly, even pre-COVID, when I started my own business, and I was a one-man show, and the thing that I missed, which I never thought, even when the thought popped into my head, I felt like I needed to, flog myself a little bit for it, was I missed meetings. And I was thinking, what do I miss meetings for? I used to spend half my time complaining about them, and now I actually miss them. And I think the key part of that was, it was the time where everybody, yes, you've all got a reason to be there, and you need to sit up, at least look like you're paying attention. But you can make little jokes about things, you can have a bit of banter, and then you do get a sort of slightly sort of teamwork element to it, and all of those things that, for me, would sort of bring me to life. I was fully engaged. I'd enjoy it. It was fun. Content of the meeting less so. But, you know, the social aspect was absolutely brilliant. So I found that the minute I started working alone, and I know that a lot of other business owners have had this same issue, you really miss all of that. And I think this has become far more widespread since COVID, because obviously everybody's now had a taster of it. And I mean, I chose to go into business for myself, and business owners choose to do that and take that path. Most people haven't chosen this for themselves. And the emotional strain that it's putting on people, it seems certainly to be pretty huge, certainly with the clients that I've spoken to. Are you finding the same thing? Because I know that you work pretty closely with you know, certainly organizations, but within that they're comprised of individuals. So are you getting that same sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of connection, like our relationships with yourself, people, places, things. It's one of our 4 elements of health, and it feeds like massively into the others. And if your connections are somewhat lacking, it's really easy for the other things to start dropping off. So earlier we mentioned, I mentioned, because you teed me up, physically and psychologically, people's health is suffering under the current conditions. And even though all the things they have around them are in place. So for instance, you might have a kettlebell in the garage, you might have like a walking route you could go on, you've got the internet with every single recipe in the universe and online shopping. Why is it that a lot of people are struggling to make those things work for themselves? We're missing those connections. We're missing the accountability of talking to others. We're missing the motivational aspects of discussing things with people that we respect and we care about. And much like the presenteeism around the work, because we're like very sort of strange actors on a little stage, with the audience stripped away, the performance starts to crumble a little bit. Where before you're like striding across the stage, delivering a soliloquy, now you're just sort of like sat at the edge with your feet dangling going, to be something, not to be, whatever.
Who gives a toss? Who's listening anyway? Yeah.
No one's paying attention.
That was part 3. Coming up in part 4, we get into the really juicy stuff. How to get yourself to actually make the changes that you know you need to make. Breaking habits and building new, healthier ones. That can be one of the toughest things to do, and James has some awesome tips on how to do it. Make sure you check it out, and if this type of conversation is right up your street, then please do hit subscribe.